See, ultimately, AI is not a god. AI is a technology, right? It's a lever that we pull to move bigger things around faster and quicker. Maybe I should go and just build it on my own rather than hope for a job that allows me to build what I have in mind. By looking at your past wins and losses, you'll often see that there is a pattern to who do you win more with? Who's more likely to buy what you offer? And then spend more time on those rather than spend equal time on every good and bad lead. Now we have the power to figure out between two prospects, someone who's 6 times more likely to buy my product. Now, should I give both of them 1 hour of my time if, let us say, I have 2 hours? Or should I give one 1.5 hours, and the other one 30 minutes? Why should we go after people who are less likely to choose us? Technology is a force multiplier. AI, even more so. Right? If you're a weak seller, it is going to make you better. You'll at least get close to normal. But for the strong, it gives you superpowers. Who is the question that Sales Navigator answers. But does Sales Navigator answer the question how? It does not.
Yep.
But guess what? Put in place a loud, super extroverted salesperson with an awkward, introverted buyer. What do you think you're gonna get?
Nothing good.
Nothing good.
So, hello, Amarpreet, and thank you for joining us today. Can you tell us a bit about your background and why did you decide to start Humantic AI?
Well, first of all, thank you, Vlad, for having me on this session with you. Happy to chat about all things AI, Humantic, and whatnot. So Humantic AI is my second startup. This is my second startup, second AI startup. So I'd done another AI startup before this. And that was somewhat related. It was in a field that's called consumer intelligence, where we were working with B2C brand marketing teams. So think any B2C brand, it could be T-Mobile, it could be Verizon, it could be Southwest Airlines, any direct consumer serving brand. So one of the things we were doing there was trying to understand consumer behavior deeply. So now it's an interesting thing that in the B2C world, they go really, really deep into understanding consumer behavior. So marketing companies, marketing teams, they do significant work, significant research. So, and while doing that, we ended up coming across these algorithms that could build and predict personality from online data, digital data, you could say. So we ended up building that. It was not from a B2B perspective as we're doing right now. It was from a B2C perspective, just to understand the consumer's thought process better. But as we built it out, we found ourselves using that in the B2B world, for selling, for hiring. And then we said, hold on, this makes a lot of sense in the B2B world. And then there were a couple of other companies that were beginning to do something like that. So that was the genesis of Humantic AI. So that's where Humantic AI, became its own product, a B2B focused product, a product for B2B sellers to deeply understand their prospects, just the way B2C marketers understand their consumers. So that's how Humantic AI started.
Interesting. And could you share about your backgrounds a bit before the first and the second startup?
So I'd like to call myself a build guy. I've been a build guy for a long time, a computer science engineer. Then I was a product manager. And mostly my experience has been on building large scale data products, algorithmic products. So I've been working with AI for fairly longer than most, actively for around 10 years now. So since around 2013, 2014. And you'll hear the dog now probably. So before that, I was on the corporate side. I spent some time working with Nokia. I worked at a company called Trilogy. I worked at Hewlett Packard. So it was mostly in product and engineering roles. And my sort of personal passion was to build what I call intelligent technology. So, 2010, I found myself looking back and saying, hey, I've been in the industry for 10 years. I'm still not building what I wanted to build. So maybe I should go and just build it on my own rather than hope for a job that allows me to build what I have in mind. And that led to me ultimately starting off my first startup. And then, of course, the second one. So, yeah, so around 10, 12 years of building products as engineer and as product manager at a couple of these companies like Nokia.
How difficult was it to do it through your startup versus a standard role in a big corporation?
I think there's a trade-off. The trade-off is that at your own startup, you can at least do what you want to do, right? You can, in a way, say, chase your dreams. But it's harder. So in a job, whatever you're doing, it's easier because there are resources, and you don't have to don't have to do the impossible, so to speak. But in your own startup, so that's the trade-off that you ultimately get to do. If you're passionate about something, you got to do that, but it's not easy. You don't have resources. You have to really, really figure it out, in a very, very frugal manner. And I don't think it's ever easy. It was not easy for us. It's never really easy for anyone who's doing their own startup.
Thanks for sharing. If I understood the mission of Humantic correctly, in a simple sentence is to humanize selling. Could you elaborate a bit on that?
Well, that's correct. First of all, you're right. I mean, that's what we see as our mission. And see, the way we think about it is, and I think people are beginning to realize that now, especially if you look back at the last 6-8 months, AI is everywhere, generative AI and AI in general. So my philosophy, our philosophy as a company has been for longer than that while technology is a beautiful thing, right? Technology is one of the best things that helps us do better, evolve faster, accomplish more things. But there's a trade-off to technology, right? There's a downside to technology. Inherently, technology tends to put distance between people. Yeah. So take any technology, consumer technology. When you spend time on your devices, you're probably not spending time with your family as much, right? And in the B2B world, you and me, when you can get on a Zoom call, then you're not meeting in person. And every time I meet someone in person, the conversation is a lot more richer, right? Lot more human. We talk about family, kids, this, that. It's not just work talk. Yeah. So technology tends to put distance between people. And now AI even more so. That's just the nature of the beast, so to speak. So our take is that we could actually leverage technology to reduce that distance between people. We can leverage AI. And how do we do that? We do that by helping people understand each other better. Yeah. So that's what Humantic AI really is. From the data that is anyway out there, so there's nothing new. We try to learn about people. We try to tell people on the other side of the table who need to know these people. It's salespeople to begin with. You're meeting a buyer, you're meeting a prospect, you're meeting 5 new people. Selling is a very transactional activity, right? I come in, I want to sell you what I have, and I want to make money from you, right? I mean, it's in a very basic sense that's what selling is about. Give you something and charge you money. But can we put a little bit more human into it? What if we know the other person? What if we know what matters to you, how you think, what is important to you, what is not important to you? We just know you, right, as a person. So, like I was speaking to someone yesterday, and that person, Humantic had showed me, had a generally very critical point of view, very, you could say cynical, but really critical point of view. So that person had a lot of questions for me. But the fact that I already knew that this is how this person is, it helped me contextualize, right? So I'm not sitting here thinking, what's going on? Why the hell is this person asking me all these questions? Right? So it's like I understand that this is how this person is, this is how they think. It's important for them to understand how we do things. I should not just be, because my default style, right, as a seller is I care about the results. This is me. So what do? I come in and I say, hey, Vlad, here are the results. Just why do you want to know how it works, right? I mean, I don't care about the how. You should also not care about the how. But that's wrong, right? If you care about the how, so that's just a small starting point that because I knew that they are going to have questions, I was ready and I could sort of sell to them in a way that they appreciate rather than sell to them in a way that I appreciate. Yeah. So we call it being buyer first, thinking about your buyer first and what matters to them. So that's really where we come from, leveraging technology to help people understand each other. And we believe when that happens, we are humanizing selling, we are humanizing how people interact. And overall, it's a win-win. You sell more, but you also sell better, so to speak.
I understand, and thank you for elaborating on that. So, if you can, please share with us something in 45 seconds or a minute for one theme that you talk about a lot, and that is buyer intelligence.
Right. So, what we do, what Humantic AI is, we call that buyer intelligence. So personality is the core of it. So we disc profile, we've heard about that, ocean profile, etc. But personality is not everything about a person. Personality is very important because personality is kind of the lens through which we see the world. It's the colored lens through which we see the world. Someone sees it yellow, someone sees it red, someone sees it green, right? And but there's more to it. What more is there? More than that is who am I, right? How I think is covered by personality, but what role do I have to play in a company? We call that pro graphics. What's your job? What's your designation? How senior are you? How old are you? That's also some kind of knowledge about you. And then there is psychographics. So psychographics means your interests and your hobbies and more about you. Do you like football? Do you like soccer? Do you like baseball? Right. So, and these are all elements that come together to know someone. So all these pieces together to understand a buyer, the person. So when we say buyer intelligence, we really mean buyer intelligence in a people intelligence sense, not like intelligence about companies. Because companies are nothing but bodies of people. Ultimately, people make companies. How your 5 buying committee members, so to speak, think is essentially equal, and how that company will think about your product, right? Because it's all about people. So that's what buyer intelligence, what it means. It's all about knowing your buyers and the people on the other side of the table. Personality is a really, really important part, but there's more, beyond personality. So one of the things, for example, we are beginning to get into now is how are you and I engaging on this Zoom call today, for example? Yeah. So the fact that I'm saying something and you're nodding or you're smiling or your eyes widen, all of those AI can understand and tell me, hey, when you spoke about pricing, Vlad seemed to had some concerns. Yeah, because maybe your eyes, went a little bit. It's body language.
I understand.
So that's all of it together becomes buyer intelligence.
Interesting. So when it comes to AI in general, what's the biggest trends that you observe right now?
I think the easy one is that generative AI is on everyone's mind right now because we're hearing about it so much. So all the companies are stepping up to understand generative AI, adopt generative AI. So that's a big trend. I'll probably add on to your question a little bit. Let me first answer your question. So that's one big trend. The related trend is that generative AI is putting essentially all of AI, on the table. So people were not paying it. See, AI is not new. It's not that AI happened 8 months ago. AI has been around for a fairly long time. It has had, a few waves. Um, the last wave, I would say, for the last at least 8, 9 years there's been a lot of work happening in the AI space. Those of us who've been in AI, we know that. So that's the kind of the related trend that AI itself is becoming, overall. It's on the table. People are thinking about AI, generative AI, beyond generative AI. So which is good for us, by the way, right? As an AI company, it means people are paying more attention to someone like us. But there is a part that people don't understand today, and I've written about it in one of my blogs on LinkedIn. If you look at my articles, I think I wrote about it. I call it Chat GPT craze. So what people don't understand is that generative AI especially is in its honeymoon phase right now. So there's a lot of excitement, just the way there was a lot of excitement, for example, around blockchain, around 7, 8 years ago, right? So I don't believe that it's a fad. I don't believe generative AI is a fad. I think it's a real technology, real trend here to stay. But even real trends, they have a curve. They go through a honeymoon period where everything looks great. Then you start kind of hitting the edges of those technologies and you say, oh, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, that doesn't work. And then you sort of, a lot of people just back out and say, no, this is not going to work, I mean, we saw the same with self-driving cars for that matter, right? 5 years ago, it looked like self-driving cars are going to be everywhere. Yeah, that's how imminent they seemed. But 2023, self-driving cars are fairly far out, at least another 5 years, maybe 10 years, who knows. So that's the second thing to keep in mind, that it's in kind of its honeymoon phase. It will have that, proverbial that Gartner has the hype cycle. It'll go down and ultimately it'll stabilize. Sometimes these things happen fast. It could happen in a year. It could happen in 2 years. It could happen in 3. But a lot of people are missing. And a lot of these people will sort of step back, where from their generative AI efforts, some will stay. And slowly, then some use cases will become commonplace and some use cases will probably disappear.
Thank you. I mean, a lot of my questions you sort of answered, but I will ask them anyway. So maybe you can just tell something that you didn't already mention, or try to, package it up in, 40 seconds or something like that. So when it comes to sales process, how do you see AI improving it, including Humantic AI and maybe without Humantic AI as well?
So I think there are multiple layers to it, right? So our view, our take is that there are, first of all, people need to understand that data and intelligence are not necessarily the same things. So too many people I've seen, they confuse both. So let us say if you're using Zoom Info or Apollo or something to pull people's phone numbers or email IDs, that's not intelligence. That's data. Okay, it's data. It's not intelligence. So people mix them up. So first of all, people should not mix them up. You should know what is data, what's intelligence. Data is kind of a basic level. If you confuse data with intelligence, you'll sort of not get to the level that you should be at, because you'll say, hey, I'm already doing, intelligence. Now, having said that, if we talk about sales intelligence, so the intelligence part. So we think there are 3-4 pieces, and these are very basic. One part of it is the, account level intelligence. That's the company that I'm selling to. Second part of that is the deal level intelligence. What is happening with the deal? Okay. Third part of it is the rep related intelligence. And fourth part is the buyer related intelligence, right? So these are the kind of the 4, you could say, actors in our sales process. There's a rep involved who's selling. There's a buyer involved who's buying. There's a company involved. And then, the deal itself is sort of an entity. So there are different software tools today that, provide intelligence across these pieces. Some of these cover more than one pieces. So take something like a Zoom Info. that gives you through chorus, they also give you rep intelligence, right? So where leaders can, uh, you know, listen to a rep's conversation and coach them and train them and whatnot. So deal intelligence is something like forecasting. So yeah, so you've got tools like Clary for that matter. So I think these are the four broad areas that will develop further. Humantic AI, we play in the buyer intelligence side. There are not too many players. I mean, we are literally defining and coining that term, right? Buyer intelligence. But everyone understands it because buyer is probably the most important piece, right? People buy from people, as we say. So it's a very, very important piece. Everyone gets it. So these four pieces will develop, further. There is more AI coming in, more prediction coming in, and forecasting still not a fully solved problem. Where will my revenue be at the end of this quarter and at the end of this year? We don't fully know. And that is important, especially as companies get bigger. Knowing who needs my product today is still a very hard question to answer. And that's the reason we're seeing a lot of spam in the market because we don't know who needs it. So we are just, doing the spray and pray. Hey, let's just reach out to thousands of people and hopefully we get lucky with some, right? But what if we knew who was in the market looking for what I have, or in cases like ours, when you don't know that there is even something like this, right? Who at least has a real need for something like what you have to offer. So I think there's a lot of work to be done there. And if good AI can do good work, it will improve everyone's life, because the buyer today is frustrated absolutely with gazillion emails, calls, and whatnot. So their life will be better. The sellers anyway frustrated with having to do so much, right? So many activities every single day. No one's enjoying selling as it's happening right now. So these are the three kind of, broad, I would say, trends that, on the forecasting side, that's a lot of work will happen there. Then, on the account intelligence side, I think there's also, if we combine this from a automation perspective, right? Automated or semi-automated outbounding selling, for example. So I think that also we'll keep seeing more and more autonomous, prospecting. Sometimes it is called where you just go into a software and say, okay, this is my ICP, and the software starts doing a bunch of things. Sometimes without even needing SDRs or needing a little bit of just, oversight, from the SDRs. So these are some of the broad trends that we are seeing at least out there in the market.
Sometimes companies are connecting their solutions to some existing or new solutions. For example, many companies are connecting with HubSpot and so on. Do you see some integration, or is there some integration with Humantic AI and some company like HubSpot or some similar company?
Oh, we already do that significantly. So we have integrations into, just to give you some names, HubSpot, Salesforce, Zoho, I think Freshworks, then Sales Loft, Outreach, Gmail, Google Calendar, Outlook Calendar. We'll be building some more. So I think integrations are going to be a big trend because users don't want more tools right now. Okay, so people are sort of like, hey, I've got too many tools already, but they're still far from doing things effectively. So they do need more technology, more AI. So we think if the AI is embedded inside the tools that they use already, then it's not like that you have to use a new product. So I think integrations into the CRMs, Salesforce, etc., will continue to be important. And that is very important, and it is also very useful for the users, for the sellers.
Okay, and I'm learning Sandler for 3.5 years now, and I have many clients from that world. It's interesting that you are also closely connected with Sandler. Um, why did you decide on Sandler in particular?
So funny thing is, I mean, we just finished a Sandler training program ourselves. Yeah, I spent some, I think, around 10, 12 to 15 hours. Our sales team did too. So we've just finished that. Why Sandler? I think a couple of reasons. The first one, I think the Sandler system, the philosophy behind the Sandler system, Sandler thought process, I think we identify pretty closely with that. So there's a lot of commonality in thought process, which I think is always critical. For example, DISC and personality and psychology are central to the Sandler system. Yeah. And that's what Humantic AI is. If you say sales and psychology, Humantic AI is literally the first company that should come to your mind, because we are rooted in psychology and behavior and prediction, personality. So I think that's the common theme that we have, that binds us. And other companies too. There's some other training firms that have a similar methodology, but not all of us think the same way. And then, of course, I think Sandler is a legendary name in that sense, right? The kind of respect it has in the market and how long-standing a brand, it has been. So I think it's we see it as a very significant opportunity to impact how sellers sell, the kind of reach to that Sandler has today. So, but yeah, I think it starts with the similarity in thought process and the centrality around psychology and behavior. So, like, one of the things we learned in the Sandler program was around treating yourself like an equal to the buyer, I think that's very insightful, and not every sales methodology teaches you that. So it's not about just being able to sell more, right? You also have to sell it in the right manner. So that starts by treating yourself, first of all, at an equal pedestal as the buyer. So that those are a couple of, I think, common themes. How we think and the impact that it probably leads to.
When we met in Orlando in this March, your presentation had one interesting note, and that is that high performers are 4.5 times more likely to use AI tools. Why do you think that's the case?
So that's, in some ways it's obvious, right? Because technology does make us a lot better. So the fact that high performers will understand it more than others, all other things being equal, high performers probably figure things out better than the low performers. And the second thing, that it's a two-way relationship, that technology, AI, does make people better performers. So like, we're doing some analysis with one of our customers right now, where we're looking at around, the top 10 Humantic users within their company, and comparing their performance from the pre-Humantic quarter with the Humantic, quarter where they've used it. And we still are digging through. But what we seem to be seeing is that their performance on the average has increased compared to the quarter earlier. So technology is a force multiplier. AI even more so, right? It's a force multiplier. And let me put it like this, sometimes the way I like to see AI is, I think of AI as like an exoskeleton, if you will. So for the weak, what it does is that it gives you parity, right? If you're a weak seller, right, you've not been up top there, it is going to make you better still, right? So it will give you parity with others. You'll at least get close to normal. But for the strong, it gives you superpowers. So, right. So it's like a suit that you're wearing that can, make you fly, help you fly, you could say, almost in a way. So that's what happens. So the top performers tend to adopt it more because they know and earlier they've seen the impact of technology. And because AI does help you become much more effective, so they kind of pull away from the rest of the pack that doesn't really adopt AI as effectively. Yeah, so that's kind of the two aspects of why top performers and AI correlate strongly, you could say.
When it comes to AI tools for prospecting, we used Humantic AI to analyze potential buyers in a way that we use their LinkedIn URL, and then the Humantic AI explained to us about their disc, what they generally like, what they generally don't like. But could you suggest something excluding that where Humantic AI could help us in sales or prospecting? Maybe some specific integration. Right now we are adopting HubSpot. So
yeah,
what's your take? What more could we use from Humantic AI?
So there are a couple of things you could do, at least maybe more. But if you're using HubSpot, so we have a HubSpot integration where all of your leads and contacts will get automatically scored for personality and 10 or so other attributes. They will get scored and enriched. Now, our one use case that we call ICP fine tuning is by looking at your past wins and losses, you'll often see that there is a pattern to who do you win more with. So, for example, in the DISC framework, we win more with the D-type personality, the result-oriented people who are risk takers and don't mind, going ahead and giving something a try. Yeah. So, but if I was selling, let us say, a compliance software, chances are that I would be winning more with a C-type personality that is risk averse. Yeah. So, by analyzing the past behavior, you could actually say and predict who's more likely to buy what you offer and then spend more time on those rather than spend equal time on every good and bad lead. So that has significant results. Break that down at a salesperson level. So if you have multiple salespeople at that point, you've got leads coming in and you're assigning leads to different people. Too often it's assigned on territory and time and a bunch of things. But guess what? Put in place a loud, social, super extroverted, kind of the aggressive jock, if you will, salesperson with an awkward, introverted buyer. What do you think you're going to get?
Nothing good.
Nothing good. But what if you knew when, like the example I gave you, the person I spoke to yesterday. So, what if you knew when the lead came in, hey, this person's going to be, very critical. Let me not pair this up with a person who tends to just brush off and, like, for example, someone who's a relationship-based seller and doesn't go into the detail as much. It would have been a waste of opportunity to put that person with someone, who really likes going into details. So I'm better off. Or it could simply be, saying, hey, we will pair up a sales engineer with this, with this salesperson, because the person who's coming in is likely going to want to know the how of the technology and not just the what it delivers. Yeah. So lead assignment, therefore. So that's an easy use case. Lead assignment and lead prioritization are two more things that you could do in HubSpot simply by integrating Humantic into HubSpot.
And can you share something more about lead prioritization?
So, like I said, you take your past wins and losses.
It's about that. I understand. Okay. I was not sure.
Yeah.
If it
So
was...
now let us say in your case, you figured out that you are more likely, in the past you won more business from. I'm keeping it simple, right? I-type personalities. So now you score I-type personalities higher when the new leads come in than others. So, and you put more effort and more work into them rather than trying to convert those. Let us say that the C-type personality doesn't really convert for you too much, right? Their conversion you see, and we do, and again, this is not just a unidimensional thing. Ideally, we should all be doing it across multiple dimensions. Like I said, in our case, because we do this, we fairly data driven, so we do this analysis. We are 3x more likely to succeed with a D-type personality than the average, and we are almost 2 times less likely to succeed with a C-type personality, or especially a CS personality. So what does that mean? Now we have the power to figure out between two prospects, a CS and a, let us say DS, someone who's 6 times more likely to buy my product. Now, should I give both of them, 1 hour of my time if, let us say, I have 2 hours, or should I give 1.5 hours and the other one 30 minutes? Like, we don't even outbound to non-D type personalities because, hey, guess what? We have a lot of prospects we can outbound to. We have thousands and tens of thousands. But why should we go after people who are less likely to choose us?
I understand.
So that's your lead prioritization because same, for example, I'm sitting in India right now in Bangalore, but guess what? Our India-based leads convert almost 3 times less than US-based leads. So we don't, and if there's some listeners here who from India, it's funny, we don't spend as much time on leads from India because we know they inherently convert less. So you combine these attributes, combine it. It's not just personality. I'm not saying that it's an important factor is what I'm saying, but you combine that with the demographic factors like location or, could be, seniority level and so on and so forth. And now you're running a data-based play and not just a hunch-based play. So you really know where to put in more effort and time and where not.
So basically, it's also using Pareto principle, where 80% of the results come from 20% of input. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, there's always an 80-20 at play. If you can figure out the 20 that are going to give you 80% of the business, you've cracked it. You've cracked it. You will make a lot more money and close many more deals.
And when it comes to Humantic AI, for example, me personally, I use a lot of Sales Navigator, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. What would be the best practice or you advise to combine Sales Navigator with Humantic AI?
So first of all, we spoke about integrations earlier. We are integrated into Sales Navigator. So you can use Humantic inside Sales Navigator. So we are very, very easy to use. Number two, I think what's important to know is Sales Navigator answers the question, who is the question that Sales Navigator answers. But does Sales Navigator answer the question how?
Not really.
It does not.
Yep.
Yeah, right. It tells you, here are the 3 people who have made your ICP at this company X. But now how do I reach out? So that's how, and this is something we've heard from our users. In fact, one of the users, put it like this. He said, I see Sales Navigator as the who and Humantic as the how. When I combine both, it just becomes 2 multiplied by 2, becoming 4 or 8, if you will. So because Humantic will tell you how to reach out to that person. And we've heard examples. One person, they said they had a new leader come in at a company that they were prospecting who was against their, organization, right? Because they probably liked a competitor more. And so this company was struggling to gain some traction with their leader because they favored their competitor. Happens all the time, right? I mean, we have our preferences, which product we like. So someone's pushing this, someone's pushing that. But using Humantic and Humantic Insights, because Humantic could literally come in and say, hey, crack a joke with this person. It's a small thing. It's one of, again, the human touch, right? We never usually do those things, but or Humantic might say, hey, take a very informal approach with this person. And that allows you to build trust. And that allows you to break that barrier. So too often we hear these stories where, another one I heard, very senior leader, and they said, we were stuck with a CIO of a Fortune 500. For 3 months, she just went cold on us. And we're trying things, we have not heard back. And then small insight, Humantic somewhere says this person likes to work through their team. And so, so this user says, I sent a mail which simply said, hey, X, Jane, whatever. Who on your team would be the right person to take a lead? I believe you're probably too busy. And 3 months later, they get a response immediately. So there's a real story, one of the customers shared. So we keep hearing these stories. Sometimes it seems like, oh, that's a small thing, but that's how interventions are, right? That's where we go back to psychology and those who understand psychology. Interventions are sometimes very minor, very subtle, right? It is just a few words here and there, and that can trigger people into taking action very, very differently.
Thank you for sharing that. Since you're very experienced with AI, I have one question. One of my clients is leading a consulting company which focuses on strategy, monetization models, business models, and so on. So we are already using LinkedIn and we are already using Humantic AI for prospecting and sales. But I believe that there is other areas of that business where AI, maybe even Humantic AI, can help or support the business. Because basically what they are doing, they are analyzing the customers' teams, employees, analyzing the markets, the products, and so on, and they are making some decisions. So at least I believe that AI could improve their process or speed up their process or do something excluding marketing and sales. What's your opinion about that?
See, AI has applicability across fields and functions. There's no doubt about it, right? So, and there is almost every kind of AI solution coming up. Some are less effective, some are more effective. So, which is something we have to keep in mind. I would say the best way is to start with a problem and work backwards. See, ultimately, AI is, if we simplify AI, right? AI is not a god. AI is a technology, right? It's a lever that we pull to move things around, to move bigger things around faster and quicker. That's what technology is.
I agree.
So if we start from the problem and identify, hey, what are our big problems? And then we say, okay, what technology can be used to solve it? I'm not even saying what AI. You don't have to look for AI. But we say what technology can be used. Odds are there will be some of those will be AI solutions. So for example, if you're not hiring effectively, right? So a lot of companies don't hire very effectively. Then there's a lot of hiring focused AI solutions involved or technologies involved. So my suggestion would be, rather than look for AI and saying what all AI, where can I fit them? Look for problems, find the problems, prioritize the problems. What are your biggest problems and priorities as a company? And then start looking at what technology and what AI can be used to solve those in the best possible manner.
Love it. Thank you for that answer. Okay. Maybe I have one or two more questions because I believe the time is nearly up. Okay.
That's okay.
Where would you suggest people seek knowledge or trends about AI?
Well, that's a hard one. So, I think the best way really is to find a few people in a relevant space, right? In a space problem that you're trying to solve, and follow them and learn from them. So there's some people are vastly more intelligent and knowledgeable about what's happening than others. I mean, I'm tempted to say you can, hey, LinkedIn or Twitter, etc., etc. And like for me, for example, to learn about AI, Twitter is a lot more effective because I follow a lot of thought leaders on Twitter. Thought leaders, I'm just saying, but these could be professors. These could be AI researchers. These could be business leaders and founders, but typically, whereas on LinkedIn, I'm mostly, connected with domain level people, right? Salespeople, sales leaders, and they tend to have a more practical, perspective. How do you leverage technology? So again, going back depends on your needs. See, my need to understand AI is first from a build perspective, because I want to make sure that we are building absolutely at the cutting edge and we're not, missing out on anything. So which is what I can learn from there. The second is on the side of leveraging technology, but a vast majority of people, it's more about leveraging technology because they're not building AI, right? Their job is to. So I would say, yeah, in general, socials are great place. I don't think you need to be reading research papers. That's not necessary. But if you find the right few people, and it's, again, there's a lot of noise, every day I see 100 people posting, list of 5 chat GPT prompts that will change your selling and prospecting and whatnot. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who are really going deeper, right? So thinking through them. I've seen some, for example, some Gartner analysts, they do some pretty good research work. So they can be a good set of people. So yes, I'm not talking about your typical LinkedIn influencer who's sharing prompts. That's not who you want to necessarily learn from. Sometimes they have useful things, but one level deeper, for example, a Gartner analyst, or sometimes they're senior industry leaders who are really going down the rabbit hole and simplifying it. So they might have a newsletter or something like that. So I think those a few good people is probably what you should aim to learn from.
Would you be open to, after the Zoom or maybe next few days, sending me a few people to follow or a few newsletters or a few podcasts or anything that you would recommend from the side of leveraging technology, not building on AI? Would you be?
I could do that.
That would be great.
I can think of a few names, yeah.
That would be great. I could share as your recommendation on LinkedIn as well. So I believe that would be interesting. I have one more question. For somebody who is thinking about starting in AI, for example, somebody not from the builder side, let's say somebody like me who is a consultant for prospecting and is thinking about maybe creating some tool, maybe some Chrome extension that uses ChatGPT or some kind of integration with your software. Would you have some recommendations where to start, what to think about, what are the main challenges?
So I'll probably step back before answering that question. I would say, doing anything well requires a significant amount of effort. Yeah. So sometimes we see something that we can do and we're like, okay, let's go ahead and give it a try. Well, if you want to do it for fun, that's fine. You can just go ahead and give it a try. But anything that you want to do well, right, sort of in a professional way, let's just call it, requires a significant amount of effort. So the first point from my side would be to really think through and say, okay, do I want to go and build something, right? Do I want to spend the kind of time that building something successfully will require? That's the number one place. Number two is, the ideal is if you identify like a gap in the market, right? There's a need in the market. That's always the best way, because then you are not a hammer looking for a nail, right? So you know exactly what problem can be solved.
I agree.
And so sometimes we've heard of stories, some founders saying, I had 20 customers like lined up and in a list ready to sign up before I even started building my product, right? So those founders really figured something out. Sometimes that doesn't happen. That's an easier said than done kind of a thing, right? Sometimes my suggestion then would be to just follow your passion. Like if you're really passionate about something, then you should do it. Sometimes people do things because they sense an opportunity, right? So, hey, there's an opportunity in the market. That doesn't work out too well often enough, because of what I said at the beginning. Anything worthwhile takes very significant amount of time before it succeeds. And if you're not passionate, right, if you're just an opportunity hunter, odds are you will end up giving up before you really can taste success. So it's not gonna be easy. So I would say, so find a problem that people need solved, or at least find something that you're passionate about is probably a good starting point.
Thank you very much. This was really a pleasure for me. So thank you one more time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Some great questions there. Every time I have a conversation like this, if there's some good questions, I come back thinking, oh wow, um, I got down to some thoughts that I had not fleshed out myself, right? So it's an opportunity to give them a more concrete shape. So thank you for some great questions there.
I'm very glad if I contributed even 1% in that manner. So
Oh, more than
I'm really
that,
glad.
more than that, you definitely did. Asking right questions.
Yeah.
They say is half the job. So thank you for some good questions there.
Okay, great. This was really a pleasure. If you can share some resources or people that you would like us to recommend as your recommendation on LinkedIn. I believe that would be interesting for people. And I really like your energy. How do you think about things? And I'm open for our future conversations, or who knows what could come.
Absolutely. Sounds good. I'll do that. And let me also connect you to Amraj, who's our sales guy. He'll help you out. So thank you for having me, on this chat once again.
You're welcome. Goodbye and all the best.
Thanks. All right. You too. Take care. Bye.